Hey, welcome to the Unit 8 review. Are you tired yet? Are you tired of all these translations? It's going to be over soon. Sully, get your head off the broom handle, Sully. How many times we got to tell you? Head off the broom. Look, there's cheerleading things going on. Watch that. That's probably exciting, isn't it? All right, there's three things that we have to look at in Unit 8. And the first one's translations. And if you remember what a translation is, a translation maps a point. It's basically a slide across the screen. All you have to do is take the x and you add or subtract to it. Take the y and you add or subtract to it. There's three ways we can write it. But the last way here, what is that, with vector notation, we're not going to use that. I mean, we don't use that. We ain't got time for that. All right, so we're going to cross that out. So here's some examples. Okay, this is what it's going to look like on your test. Graph and label the image of the figure using the transformation given. All right, so I'm going to do it two different ways. First way is if you like rules and you like to write everything out. All right, so let's take the point P, which is currently at negative 3, 1. All right, and we want to map it to P prime, which is at, all right, our rule is you take x and you add 1, and you take y and you add 4. So if you add 1 to negative 3, you get negative 2. Be careful with your integers there. And if you add 4 to 1, you're going to get 5. All right, so that's where that point would go. P would go to negative 2, 5, which is up here. All right, so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you have to know that positive 1 in the x direction means go to the right 1, and positive 4 in the y direction means go up 4. So you can just go 1 to the right, up 4 for each point. That's probably easier. 1 to the right, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's where K prime would be. All right, so what do we got? W, 1 to the right, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's W. And L, 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So L will be right here. Sometimes your shapes do overlap. That's okay. That happens. Let's draw our new picture here, but they should be congruent. I mean, they should look exactly the same when you're all done. Ooh, I forgot my prime. How bad is that? Put a little prime on that L. All right, so there you go. You're done with that one. Here's another example. All right, so the rule is x, you go minus 5. So that's minus 5 in the x direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then y, you subtract 4. All right, so that's going to put us right here. That was Q. Q prime. Try to get rid of that red dot. All right, so how about B? You got to go 5 to the left and then 4 down because it's negative. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be right here. That's going to be B prime. You have to make sure you label your points. Z, 5 to the left, 4 down. Here's Z prime. Okay, so we're looking at a wonderful, oh man, ain't no one got time for that. All right, there you go. All right, so that's how you do it on the graph. Well, how do you do it on the on the paper here? If they just give you 1 unit to the right, well, we just talked about that. H prime, 1 unit to the right is plus 1. 1 unit down is minus 1. So you take the x, this takes the x, and you add 1. This takes the y, and you minus 1. You subtract 1. All right, so what do we get here? Negative 1, 0. That's y prime. And j prime would be negative 1. And negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. You really got to know your integers. Okay? How about this? 2 units down. That's all it says. Okay, so the coordinates would be z prime. You're just going 2 units down, so the x doesn't change. X prime. 2 units down, so the 3 goes down to a 1. So we're just subtracting 1 coordinate here, the y, subtracting 2 from that, and the x stays the same. Hey, how is that? What if they wanted you, how do you write this as an algebraic rule? Algebraic rule, remember, x, y goes to x, and 2 units down, we'd write y minus 2. That's the algebraic rule. Okay, and we kind of did over here, x, y would go to x plus 1, y minus 1. All right, so that's the algebraic rule for that one. All right, so that's section 1. Section 1's a piece of cake. All you're doing is sliding those things across the screen. Section 2, reflections. All right, so we have some rules here, and I'm just going to just memorize the rule. Would you memorize these? It just makes life easy. All right, so if you reflect in the x-axis, you change the y value. If you reflect in the y-axis, change the x value. If you reflect in the line y equals x, it's yx. That means you switch the coordinates, the direction. And if you reflect in a line y equals negative x, then you have to flip it and you negate it. So you have negative y, negative x. Okay, so how do we do this? reflection across y equals negative x. The first thing that I always recommend that you do is you draw the line. Y equals negative x starts up here, kind of goes down like this. Okay, so remember what we said. It's going to be the same distance to the line, but you do it on the other side. So there's two ways to do this one. Again, let me review because we have y equals negative x. Let's go back here. The rule is negative y, negative x. All right, so I'm going to do 2 points using the rule xy goes to negative y, negative x. Okay, so what do we do? Let's take the point A, which is the point 1, negative 2. All right, so 1, negative 2. You have to switch the direction and make them the opposites. You have to switch them up. So it'd be 2, negative 1. All right, that's using this rule right here. You switch the order, and then you make them the opposites. That's what the rule is, negative y, negative x. All right, so that's going to take me, what do we got? 2, negative 1. 1, 2, negative 1 right here. And you can see that that is a reflection in the line y equals negative x. Okay, let's do another point. Let's do, what do we got here? Let's do h. Okay, so h is at the point 0, negative 4. Remember the rule is you switch and then you make the opposite. We're going xy. I erased that ruler. I shouldn't have done that. xy goes to negative y, negative x. All right, so 0, negative 4 would go to negative negative 4. All right, that's 4. And then negative 0, which is just 0. So it goes to 4, 0, which is, hey, what happened to her? Kelly's like dropping all this stuff. All right, so that goes over here, 4, 0, and that's going to be h prime. All right, so you can kind of see, and it might be easier just to kind of look at it. You can figure out where it goes if you have an eye for that, which some people do and some people don't. All right, but what are we doing here? Let's take our line tool, and we will go from here to there and everywhere around. Hey, look, it's reflecting the line y equals negative x. All right, so what I recommend if it's a line y equals negative x, always draw the line in so that you can see what's going on. Double check it. Make sure it's the same distance to the line and it's on the other side, and then you're good to go. Okay, how would this look? Reflection across the x-axis. Remember, the x-axis goes left to right. All right, so x comes up to here. Let's write that in. Ooh, Kelly's like getting her all messed up today. W, 2, go 2 up, and n is 1, 2, 3, 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to make sure they're labeled x prime, w prime, n prime. Take the line tool here. We'll make a nice little line that'll show our reflection in the x-axis. Okay, you could also use the rule on that one. xy goes to x negative y. So the rules are right here. You can always memorize them. If you're not a visual type person where you can see it, like I'm pretty good. I'm a math guy, obviously, but I can see that this is a reflection. There's 2, there's 2, there's 1, there's 1. That's okay for me. Some people it's really hard to do that. So I would, if that's you, which it might be, then just use the rule. Just plug it in like we did for the first one. Change the coordinates the way you need to, and you're good to go. All right, what other type of questions can we get? Okay, so what other type of problems can we have? Right here, look, reflect these points across y equals 1. Now what I did is I erased all the graphs up here so we can look. Ignore this. Ignore. We're not looking at that. I'm just using the graph as an example. So what do we have? C is at negative 5, negative 1. So negative 5, negative 1. We put a little c there. And we want to reflect it in the line y equals 1. The first thing you need to know is what is the line y equals 1? All right, that's a horizontal line. It's right there. It goes left and right, crosses at 1. All right, so you're going to reflect the point C in that line. Guess what? Count up 2, go 2 more. It ends up here. All right, so what are the coordinates of that? What do we got? You got to remember the origins right here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, 1, 2, 3. So it's negative 5, 3. That's going to be C prime. Okay, how about E? Negative 3, 0. Negative 3, 0. E is right here. The line y equals 1, which we probably should label that. Okay, it's 1 unit to it. So on the other side, 1 unit would be E prime. What is that? That's negative 3, 2. That's E prime. Negative 3, 2. And then M is at negative 1, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. That's down here. It's 4 units to the line. So another 4 units will put you up here. So we have M prime is at negative 1. Well, let's write it down here with the other ones. M prime, negative 1, 5. Okay, so if I draw my nice little triangle lines the way I should. Here's what the first one looked like. Here's what the second triangle looks like, the image. Okay, and you can tell that they're reflected in the line y equals 1. So that one is probably just easy enough that you could just draw a little picture and do it that way. Okay? Number 4, reflection across the x-axis. Remember our rule for that. If you want to use the rule, you can either graph it or you can use the rule. X-axis is x negative y. You just change the y coordinate. Okay, so if I'm just changing the y coordinate, it's as easy as n prime. Change the y coordinate to the opposite. There's 1. Okay, negative 5, negative 2. G prime is at negative 3, negative 4, and Q would be at negative 1, positive 1. Okay, that'd be Q prime. Sorry, I said Q. That's not right. It's Q prime. Mobby. 8.3, rotations. That's the last section that you have to know. All right, so the rotations, the rules for rotating counterclockwise. Remember, the only tricky part is a rotation of 270 degrees. Let's look. 270 degrees this way is the same as going 90 this way. So if they ask you for 90 degrees clockwise, that's the same as 270 degrees counterclockwise. All right, so that's the only thing that's tricky. All right, so we put this in the notes. You already have that. We put that in the notes. Here are the different rules for it, so you can, the way I remember it is you switch the order and you make the first. Actually, I'll tell you honestly, how do I remember these rules? I don't remember them. I just figure it out every time. Look, here's an axis. I say, okay, I want to rotate a point 90 degrees. Because once I figure out 90, I can figure out the rest by just doing it again and again and again. So I pick a point that's like over here and up there, like the point 5, 1. All right, that looks kind of like this. If I rotated it bleep, up 90 degrees, that would come up here. Okay, so what's the rule? You go, look, it's a long distance and then a short distance. Well, here it's a short distance and a long distance, so that tells you kind of what to do. You can guess where that point is. It's a negative 1, 5. All right, so now I can figure out what my rule is. Okay, xy went to negative yx. So honestly, I don't remember these. I just wait till they ask me to do some problem, and then I figure out what the rule is. All right, xy in this case would go to negative yx. Or if you're not good at that visual stuff again, just memorize it, and then you can use the rule as needed. All right, so 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. Here's where you have to be careful. 90 degrees clockwise is this way, which is the opposite way. So instead of 90 degrees clockwise, we're going to do 270 degrees counterclockwise. And we know our rule for that because we figured it out. Mr. Kelly gave us this nice sheet, is y negative x. Okay, so y negative x. So I need all of these points. I'm going to write down all the coordinates because that's the easiest way to do it. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2. That's F. Okay, G, 0, 1. Okay, and D, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, negative 3. All right, so those are the original points. I know my rule is y negative x. So let's write our rule down. xy is going to go to y negative x. So what does that mean? Switch the coordinates, negate the second one. Negate means make the opposite. All right, so f prime, g prime, d prime. Here we go. So f prime is that. Switch it, make the second one the opposite. Ta-da! Switch it, make the second one the opposite. What's the opposite of 0? 0. Okay, how about d? Switch it, make the second one the opposite. So now when I graph these, what do you get? F prime's at 2, negative 3, 1, 2, negative 1, 2, 3. Here's F prime. G prime's at 1, 0. G prime. And D prime is at negative 3, negative 3. All right, so there's G prime. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to get my line tool. Where's my line tool? Get it. All right, so we're going to draw it. Can you see how this scoop down? And then it'd scoop up, and then it'd scoop over for each 90 degrees. All right, so that is the rule. That is how you do these type of problems. I'm not going to work through number 2 because I want to keep this video a little bit short, and I think I'm getting long-winded here. You can roll your eyes if you say yes. All right, so again, just using the points, we'll do this one, rotation of 180. Okay, what's the rule for that? xy is going to go to negative x, negative y. Okay, remember that's the rule based off of this wonderful table. 180, there's the rule. Going to have to memorize it. Hey, am I going to give you the rules on the test? No. And if Mr. Kelly'd stop going all over the computer, we'd be able to learn. All right, so let's take H. H prime would be at what? So you just make them both the opposite. That's a prime. H prime. Okay, so 0, 3. W prime is at -2, +1. M prime is at -4, 1. And E prime would be at -2, 4. And how do I get all those? I'm just using the rule. Change, make them the opposite, each coordinate. You don't switch anything or anything like that. Okay? So that's how you do that type. There's one more type. What we're going to do is I'm going to give you a chance to read this. All right, so go ahead and read it. We're talking about kit, which is a triangle. All right, so I'm going to put the points down. K is at 1, -4. Oh, we're going to have to go down here. 1, -4. That's right here. K. 2, 0. And 1, -1 is T. 1, -1. Ooh. T. So, using my straight little line tool here, we get a point. We get a shape that looks like this, a triangle. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to translate it. It says graph K prime, I prime, T prime, which is the image of this triangle. So graph the original triangle, then translate it. +3 +5. That means you go 3 to the right and 5 up. So our new points, I'll use green this time. 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3. 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's going to be T prime. Let's do I. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's going to be up just out of my reach. There's I prime. And K. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. K prime. So we're looking at here. Let's use a different color. It's the same exact shape, but it's been slid to the right 3 and up 5. So that will do part A. Part B, graph the image of K prime, I prime, T prime after a clockwise rotation of 180. All right, so we have to graph the image of the answer for part A. This is the answer for part A. That's the purple one here. So I'm going to write down the coordinates. The coordinates are 4, 1 for K prime. Okay, I prime is 5, 5. And T prime is at 4, 4. All right, so those are the coordinates we're working with. We're going to use a clockwise rotation of 180. That's the same as a counterclockwise rotation of 180. All right, so the rule for that is xy is going to go to -x, -y. All right, so that means that our new points are going to be, let's use red, okay, K double prime. So it'd be -4, -1. Okay, I double prime, -5, -5. And T double prime, which is -4, -4. All right, so I'm going to graph those on here. To graph, let's use, well, I'll use red because I used red before. All right, so -4, -1. That's going to be K double prime. And I, -5, -5. So that's going to come all the way down. I double prime. And T's at -4, -4. All right, so let's use, can I use, I guess we'll use red. We'll use red again. But you can use different colors if it helps you out. And look, all right, so your first image has been rotated around so that it's straight down. Voila. How easy is that? So that is the first part. We now have to graph K prime, I prime, T prime after reflection in the x-axis. Now here's a hint. I'm trying to help you out here. My hint. I tried to make all of these so they didn't overlap too much. So if you get answers where they're just overlapping like crazy, then you probably messed up. What was that? That was T double prime. All right, so what are we doing? We're reflecting in the x-axis. So T double prime, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. T double prime, and I double prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to come up here. Alright, so our triangle looks like this. Oh, that is nasty. We'll go purple. That is nasty. Come on, Mr. Keller. Okay, so these are all of the triple primes. Okay, and then, so that does part C, and notice they don't kind of overlap each other, and it says, is it on isometry? Remember, an isometry is, I mean, here's what it's asking. You start with the original, you go to the next one, which was here, you go to the next one, which is down here, and then you go to the next one, which is up here. Is that an isometry? Remember, an isometry means the triangles are congruent. If you look at them, they are congruent. So you just write yes. They are congruent, and you're all done with that. Whew, that was a hard problem. Sorry, took too long. But that is section, well, that's Unit 8. That's all of Unit 8. And I know it was hard. It's a lot of stuff. Make sure that you're neat. Use a ruler, and make sure you label everything well, and you should do all right. We'll talk to you later. Remember, this is Mr. Kelly Baumholder. It's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice. See you.